The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And you can always chat with us here. We love getting your emails, and we respond to each and every one of them. And the X Zone Radio TV show is brought to you by our good friends at Beautiful Mind Coffee, www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Dr. Donald Pett, and we're going to be talking about his expertise in the cause of war and the cause of peace. And he is an expert in substance abuse. He was a consultant to the White House, and his website is www. Are you ready for this one, X Zone Nation? They didn't give it to me. Huh. Nice guys. Oh, yes, here it is. www.peace.academy or www.worldpeace.academy. And Dr. Pett, welcome back to the X Zone. How are you tonight, Doctor?
I'm wonderful, thank you. It's delightful to be here.
So nice seeing you, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Doctor?
Well, I'm an 86-year young retired psychiatrist, and my passion is for the safety of my 7 wonderful grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. I was born, like most people, receiving lots of bullshit kind of ideas about who we are and what we're supposed to be. I was given a God, I was given a religion, I was given a flag to salute and who to kill for and so on. And I've realized that that's really not what we're all about. We're really about learning to help one another and learn to make the world a better place for our loved ones. I was fortunate that because I was big for my age, I was recruited into to play football. And one day my football coach called me into his office. He was also the counselor, and he told me something that changed my life. One sentence. He said, "What are you going to do when you grow up and go out to work?" I really didn't know, but he said, "You have to go to college." That was really strange to me because my mom or dad had not finished high school. My half-sister and my brother hadn't finished high school. So he wrote a nice letter to Johns Hopkins. I was accepted, and there I learned in a liberating education that freed me. And then from there, I went on to psychiatry. I was trained at Johns Hopkins. I had one of my favorite professors, Jerome Frank, was one of the leading world experts in the cause of war and the cause of peace. And since then, I've always been dedicated to see what we can do to make the world a safe place. And I've learned that most everyone wants to contribute something of themselves to make the world a better place. If you look around the world today, most people are interested in making more money, becoming famous, having more power. But that's the reason why we have a problem today. We have such a difference between the haves and the have-nots, that if the haves have 1 or 2% of the wealth, and the people who are having hardly enough to eat and people starving every day, you know the outcome of that has to be confrontation and wars. And that's why in today's world, we're no longer fighting with sticks and stones and teeth and muscles. What we're doing is we've introduced nuclear weapons that if one person pushes a button or we have a mechanical error, it's all over for all of us in 15 minutes. So that's why I'm so dedicated, and I welcome this opportunity for you to to ask me any questions, whatever, so we can try to recruit 1 million members, followers who are going to change the world and teach a newer way of thinking.
Let me ask you this, Doctor. Yesterday, the Russians had a missile that landed in Poland, killing 2 people. Whether it was deliberate, whether it was a renegade who decided to do this in order to get Poland and NATO involved using Article 5, who knows at this point? President Biden yesterday said cool heads will prevail. Let's step back. Let's examine all the facts before we come to any hasty
Wise.
decisions. Based on your expertise, sir, how do you think that we as a human race, with the difference in the haves and the have-not, how can we successfully, working together, put an end to all of this and bring peace and harmony to this beautiful planet of ours before we destroy it?
Einstein told us the solution to that very question. He said our leaders are not very knowledgeable about what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I said earlier, our leaders are more interested in power and
Sure.
money and so on. But he said we have to teach ourselves a newer way of thinking where we cooperate with one another, where we help with one another rather than tear others down. So what I've learned in my work, particularly as a consultant to the White House working the addictions, when we're born, we're all addicted to a way of thinking which is tribal, which is my way is the only right way.
Right.
So if you as you were taught when you're younger, if you salute to my flag, then that's the right flag. And if you're not part of my tribe, then you deserve to be killed, basically. Some of our basic ideas are if you don't believe in my religion, you deserve to have your head cut off.
Right.
Or you deserve to be punished in eternity forever. You see, that's the way we learn our early language. But Einstein telling us we can create some new words, some new language that teach us to think in terms of how we can help one another rather than put one another's down. So we teach the acronym HELP. What are the 4 universal qualities that everyone wants? One of them is happiness, H for happiness.
Right.
I don't know of anyone that's against happiness. Do you?
No, sir, I don't.
Enough would be enough. E is enough food and shelter. We learned that if you don't have enough food and shelter and your neighbor is throwing food away, you know it's going to happen. We're going to have war. So we have to be able to see that people have enough food and shelter. We also have to have enough spiritual values. The basic spiritual value is thou shalt not kill your neighbor. Yet we're spending most of our budget, think about it, building more powerful weapons to kill our neighbors. And when everybody's doing that, that's the end of the situation. L stands for unconditional love. We all want love, but instead we're teaching tribal love. We're saying, my tribe is the right tribe. If you don't believe in my tribe, then you deserve to be, as I said, to have your head cut off or to be punished in eternity. That's not getting us where we want to go. And of course, you probably know what the P stands for.
It has to be peace.
It has to be peace, exactly. Yeah. So do you know anyone that's against peace? Let me tell you of a little study that I conducted informally, if I may. Was that
Please.
Okay?
Oh, definitely, sir.
Okay. I interviewed randomly 200 people in various places, people I didn't know. I just went up to them and I said, could I ask you 3 questions that would be helpful, quick questions about world peace? And everybody said yes. Nobody seemed to be opposed. I said, do you ever wish or pray for world peace? And some people said, I wish for world peace. Other people said, I pray for world peace. Some people said, I wish and pray for world peace. But no one ever told me they were against world peace. Not a single person. The second question is, what do you do to bring about world peace? People thought, they scratched their heads and so on. And they said, I guess I don't do much of anything about world peace. And some people said, well, it's up. I don't have time. I'm too busy. It's up to somebody else to take care of world peace. God will have to bring world peace, or our leaders will have to bring world peace. But when you think about it, some people did say, I give money to third world countries or whatever. They give money, or they try to be kind to people. But these are not going to change world peace. They're worthwhile. But if we only have a limited amount of time, we've got to do something more dramatic. And then the third question, I guess, if you knew something simple that made sense, would you do something? And virtually 100% raised their eyebrows, got excited, said, of course I would. But you see, what I'm trying to share with you here, we have a need. Everyone virtually in the world wants these qualities. They want happiness. They want enough. They want love. They want peace. And there's one other thing that everybody wants that's universal. We want safety for our loved ones. I don't know if you have any children or grandchildren, but no matter what skin color you are, whether it's white or black or red or yellow, we all want the same thing. But we're all fighting one another. So the issue is, yes, now we have an understanding that there's a common cause. We know there's a product that everybody in the world wants, and right now, no one has really created a practical solution that we can achieve this within a relatively short period of time. One of the books that I wrote that's available free on the internet is World Peace in 3 years or less, or else. If we can't do it within a short time, the experts, there are 250 experts that were surveyed by the U.S. Joint Congress in a major study. And they wrote a book, it's actually a book now, which was a report to our president. And it said that it's more likely than not that someone will push a button within our lifetime. That's a rather dramatic statement. You see, if someone pushes the button in today's world, we've created a world where one person can do something that will end civilization in a matter of minutes. Most people aren't aware of the danger that we're in, and that's why we have to wake people up. And that's why hopefully in this program, with your help, with our dialogue, we might be able to interest people in coming to the solutions that Einstein proposed, that we offer free.
Doctor, please stand by. We have to take a short break. And Explanation, our guest this hour is Dr. Donald Pett. And I want to hear more about this, Doctor, because I believe that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So let's get as many people as we can to help bring peace to this beautiful planet of ours. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Donald Pett is our special guest, and his website is worldpeace.academy. All right, Doctor, you've got me very interested. How can we bring peace to this planet in 3 years or less?
Well, what we've done on our program, we've invented several words, what we call word switches, that replace what we call a new word, trigger word. So we have certain words in our language that cause us to be tribal, to identify with our local tribe, and then be antagonistic because we don't trust other tribes. So one of the first words we teach people is genie organ. The words our ancestors developed 50,000 years ago were all basically tribal words that divide us into us and them.
Right.
So, for example, when we first developed words, we invented religion. And so we developed so many religions, we developed myriads of gods. And each group had their gods was the right God and the other God was the wrong God. And then we developed flags. We developed flags to identify with our particular geographic tribe, our country, for example, or our political group. And these words are words that were necessary when they were invented 50,000 years ago, because we didn't have enough food, we had people to feed, and we had to engage in physical confrontation, so-called win-lose battles. And in order to do that, if you identified with a large tribe, if you identified with a tribe of 10, you could overcome a tribe of 2. If you had a tribe of 100, you could overcome a tribe of 10. So I know that for over 1 billion years, high-level life had to become identified with a tribe. Wolves travel with wolves, and then they can kill together. Lions travel with lions, sharks with sharks.
Right.
And the same thing with humans. Humans, if they belong to the black tribe or the white tribe or the whatever, they would be in confrontation with others for limited resources. So you see, we were biologically programmed over 1 billion years to be tribal. And that's the way we're born. We have that way of thinking. So when we developed language 50,000 years ago, naturally the words that we first developed were ones that supported being able to engage in confrontation with other tribes and win. And the human tribe has been winning consistently. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Many other tribes have become extinct. So now that we've come to this point, that was worked for us for a long time. But when Einstein realized that we had the ability to create a weapon so powerful as the nuclear weapon, he didn't want to share it with anyone. But when his colleagues realized what he was doing, and they said, if Hitler got there first, none of us would be here, or we'd all be speaking German.
Right.
So Hitler didn't like that idea. So reluctantly, he sent his famous letter to our president, and the Manhattan Project was started. And it took several years of people working together. And that's part of the answer to your question as well. When people work together, they could do things that are amazing that people individually couldn't do. One person couldn't learn to walk on the moon or create a rocket that had over 1 million parts. One person couldn't create a nuclear weapon or create a vaccine. But when we learn to work together, that makes the difference. So basically, Einstein realized that he had to do something. He didn't want Hitler to have the bomb first. He didn't know whether he did or didn't. So we created the bomb. And then when he saw what happened, he was so upset. He said, I wish I would have cut my fingers off rather than send that letter to the president. But then what he decided, he said, I have to come up with an answer. And his answer was a very simple answer. We have to teach ourselves a newer way of thinking. And he didn't use these words. These are the words that our group has put together. We have to create words that change the way we think so that we can help one another. And of course, that's where that acronym that I mentioned, happiness, enough, love, and peace.
Right.
So,
Doctor, when you talked about the tribe mentality, and when you look at the world, and instead of looking them at countries and nations, you look at the tribe of the United States, the tribe of Canada, the tribe of Mexico, it changes everything. You're not looking at a world that is united. You're looking at a world that is fractured into tribes. Some tribes get along with other tribes, and it brings it right back to the very beginning of time where this all started. It's a totally different way of looking at the world.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely correct. But we're not looking at the world pretty much we're looking at the world with one sentence. That's the meme that describes our society. It's what works for me and my family, my tribe, for here and now. We're not thinking about the long term. We're thinking about, as long as I have air conditioning and I have a roof over my head, and I have enough what's needed, and I can get my children educated. Yeah. And that's true for a very small percent of the population. So when you have most of the world just barely getting by, and a number of people starving every day, then you've got to have confrontation. If you have children and your children are starving, and your neighbor is throwing food away, is it moral for you to take some food so your children can live, or should you let your children starve?
I would never let my child or any other child starve if I could help it, sir.
But we can do something to prevent other children from starving. But you see, only if we change our way of thinking. So the new meme that we could create, which is also a very simple sentence, instead of what's good for me and my family and my tribe for here and now, it's a simple one. What's good for my tribe and your tribe? No matter what your God or your tribe, if you're the God of your tribe or your country, the flag that you salute, no matter what your skin color, we all want the same thing. Yeah. So the question is, what's good for my tribe and your tribe for now and the future? If you listen to that one sentence that says, How can you use your creative energy and join it synergistically with my creative energy to create what we all want? You notice in that sentence, there's no right or wrong.
Nope.
There's no blaming, no shaming ourselves, no complaining. And the world is all, if the world is full of complaints, our biologic background is that when we're frustrated, we strike out at whoever's causing us problem. And it's that kind of blaming that goes on that's so within our genes, and that's what we all do when we're frustrated. And we need to learn that there's a better way than having win-lose confrontation. We can negotiate to find what is it that works for everybody. And we can do that.
This may be a question that you may not be able to answer, sir, but in your opinion, how do we do it?
Well, we've laid it all out in our website, how we can do it. We first have to learn 7 simple word changes. If you want, I can go through those word changes.
Please.
Just a few. Okay, well, as I said, when we're born already pre-programmed over billions of years to think a certain way, which is tribal. What's good for my tribe? So the first word switch is when you say, I think I can, rather than I can't. Most people, as I said in those interview I did with 200 people, they just felt it was overwhelming. They had a hopeless, helpless response. They said it's too difficult to create world peace. But the issue is it's not difficult at all. It's really very simple if we follow these simple steps. So the first one is I say, I think I can, because when you say I can't, you've already ended the situation. I think I can is what creates energy. It turns on our energy. It says if we think we can, then we can start using our imagination. Einstein told us the most important event in human history was when we created language that enabled us to have imagination. Animals don't have an imagination. They don't have words. So in our imagination, we can create any alternative. And some people, like important people, said, if you can do something in your imagination, you can do it in real life. If you can think it, there's a way to create it. So the first step is, I think I can. It turns on your imagination. The second is you say, I allow. Instead of all the blaming and shaming, I allow is the declaration of responsibility. When you say, I'm not going to allow Mr. Putin to tell me or somebody else to tell me that I have to do something that's totally against me. Here you have Mr. Putin or President Putin who can get 300,000 people to go to a country where they don't know the people and they have no against them and they're supposed to kill them. and it's certainly not what they want to do. They're allowing others to control them.
But isn't that what we also did with Vietnam?
Of course. We did the same thing, and we're doing the same thing now.
Yeah.
We allow people to tell us that's the point. When we're born, we have no ability to resist what we're told. You see, as infants, if we're told that certain groups are the only worthwhile groups, that only Germans or Americans or white people or black people are the right people, then it's telling us other people are wrong. We don't have any ability to resist that. So when you say I allow, it's the declaration of I'm an adult now. I don't have to continue to let other people control me. I can start to say, I'm going to take responsibility for myself. It's a statement of responsibility. The third word switch is I say I could for should. Should is the word that other people have told us we have to be, the should word. There's a one well-known therapist, Albert Ellis, who said the main thing in therapy is we get caught up in we let people should on us instead of we could. What we asked ourselves, you see, when you say I could, you're inviting this wonderful thing between our ears that has the ability to solve problems. and grant us unlimited wishes. When you say, what could I do? You're inviting us to use our imagination instead of saying, I can't and I give up. Now, the fourth word switch is when we substitute both and for either or. We say, that's that one sentence. What's good for my tribe, both my tribe and your tribe, for now and the future? See, when we can work together and get rid of the shaming and blaming, then we're only saying, how can we work together to find solutions to teach people happiness, enough, love, and peace? They're all teachable skills. We can teach happiness. We can teach people to love themselves. We can do all these things. And we can show people how to do that. So that's the fifth word switch. When we say either or, substitute both and for either or, because then we're changing the way we think. With those five simple word changes that anyone can learn within 30 days with 30 minutes of practice, and get rid of the either or, my tribe or your tribe. How can we work together, your tribe and my tribe? Doesn't matter what color your skin is and so on.
But wouldn't it be up to the leaders of our tribes to take this approach first? Because if we go against the leaders of the tribe and do something that is illegal, we suffer the consequence, not the leader of the tribe.
Well, we don't want to go against the leader of the tribe.
Right.
We want to use what the tribes have and multiply that. What the leaders of our tribes all have, if you think about it, it's their ability to use language. Anyone who has become, whether it's a motivational guru like Jack Canfield or Brian Tracy, or whether it's a business guru like Grant Cardone, who's the number one real estate leader, making money for people, or whether it's a political leader like Biden or Winston Churchill or any of the leaders. What makes them unique is their ability to use words and to influence people. So what we want to do is take those people who are influencing people with the wrong outcome. You see, they're teaching people happiness. They're teaching people to make more money and to become famous, and they charge people lots of money to come to their program. So the people who don't have words can't get to those programs. So we're creating a bigger disparity between the haves and the have-nots. That's why we have wars and so on. So what we need to do is to help the leaders learn that they can take their program to the penthouse level, to the highest level, to teach peace and happiness to these skills, because most of these leaders have children. And when they realize that the experts in nuclear weapons are telling us it's only a matter of time before someone pushes the button, less than 10 years, the number one thing on their agenda is they don't want their children to be killed prematurely because someone pushes a button. So we can interest them. I think that's part of the answer. We have to interest them to add these new word changes and this new way of thinking to their large tribe followings of tribes. And we can do that with a new method of education our group has created. We call it a Genie Seminar, and we recently received a trademark and patent. We trademarked from the United States Trademark and Patent Office for the name Genie Seminar. So this is one of those new word changes, you see, that we've introduced. We've introduced over 100 of them, but this is one of the critical ones, because think about it. When our ancestors created language, what did they call this thing between our ears? They called it a cerebral cortex. That's a dead word, because all it tells us anatomically is cortex. This new brain, this magical brain we have, is the cover of the animal brain, the old brain. It doesn't give us any suggestions of what to do. But when we call this thing between our ears a genie organ, you know the story of Aladdin's lamp?
Of course, yeah.
And you remember the story, what happens when you rub the lamp?
Sure, the genie comes out of the lamp.
And what does he say?
If my memory serves me correct, you've got three wishes.
Exactly. You've got it exactly. He said, thank you. You have freed me from this lamp, from this evil background here. And now that I'm free, I'm going to grant you 3 wishes. When we free our cerebral cortex, which we're now going to call something different, a genie organ,
Mm-hmm.
it gives us unlimited wishes and the ability to transform these wishes into concrete reality.
Doctor, we've got to take a break. Please stand by. And Exonation, our guest this hour is Dr. Donald Pett, and his website is worldpeace.academy. We'll continue after the short break. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Donald Pett is our special guest. His website is worldpeace.academy. Doctor, what is the educational community nonprofit?
This is a nonprofit foundation I created 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
to teach Einstein's solution for a safe world for our loved ones. And we've been working on this for a number of years. We have a group of people who meet every week, and we try to create the solutions to make our world a better place and make them available free to the people who don't have the money to hire these high top gurus. The people who need it most are the people who can't afford it, who don't have the use of words.
Mm-hmm.
So we've created the words that people need to learn to change. We've created, so the content is a 7+2 formula, 7 word switches that teach people a newer way of thinking to cooperate with one another, help one another. And the 2 word switches, the 2 love creation skills, we teach people to love themselves with the abundance that overflows to enrich others. You see, the new version of the golden rule is love ourself with the abundance that overflows. Unfortunately, most people, I've learned from my practice in psychiatry, that most people do not love themselves. They're junkies that run for others. The other thing we've created, I mentioned, is this new way of education, which we call Genie seminars, where we can put people in seminars free, where they can meet with other people from around the world in groups of 10 or 12, and we introduce a universal wisdom, a universal topic, and people co-create their wisdom to learn to one another. So the purpose of this is it provides a way for people to come together to learn what we need to learn that we don't know right now. There's so much more in the world that we don't know than we do know. We know quite a bit. But when we come together, you see, we have to learn, we have to teach ourselves how to help one another rather than to continue what we do when we're born, which we try to just identify with our tribe. We have this form of what I call tribal love that says, my way is the only right way. And if you don't believe in it, then basically you're SOL.
So what is the what is the use of people trying to aspire to the American dream? Is that going against the tribe? Is that going against world peace? I know many people who worked their way through college, university. Many people that I know started up their own businesses and worked very hard for the success that, in my opinion, they so rightfully deserve. And there are so many people out there who just expect everything to be given to them on a silver platter. So I can understand both sides of the coin. And in my opinion, if somebody isn't willing to work to be successful, then it's their own fault that they can't be successful. And their lack of enthusiasm or their will to be successful, or their lack of will to be successful, should not be put onto their children. I agree, but how can we basically say, you're rich, you worked for it, you worked hard for it, you can give your children more because of your success? And how can we look at that in a negative way, sir?
You bring up a wonderful topic here. I could spend all day talking about this topic. Well, look, first, it's desirable that we make money and become powerful. Money is a source of power. With money, we can buy things, we can get control. So it's very desirable that we make as much money as we can. But if we use our money only for ourselves, while most of the world is hungry and starving, the end result of that is, as we've seen through the past, The have-nots eventually kill the haves, cut off their heads or take over their kingdom, and then we have another group that emerges. So that's a short-term benefit for our lifetime. So it's fine to make lots of money. We're not against that in our program. We say make all the money you can, and you deserve to have a $300 million house if you've worked very hard. You deserve to have cars. You deserve to have air conditioning.
Sure.
But if you have billions, then you can use those billions to save the lives of other people. You can use it to do good. You see, you can give it back. So it becomes when you make lots of money, you can become a philanthropist. And there's nothing that people enjoy more than when they can do things to help other people. So our lives are more meaningful when we do things to help other people. So number one, yes, make lots of money. But now we have those other people who we say are the beggars on the street. Why are they beggars on the street? They're beggars on the street because they didn't have much opportunity when they were born. They were either born out of wedlock, they didn't have the opportunity to get an education. So we need to find a way to help them get an education so they can support themselves. And then we also have to limit our population. We know how to do that. So look, in my lifetime, I'm 86 years old. From the time I was born to now, our population has grown from 2 billion to 8 billion people. The people who are familiar with agriculture say our Earth can only support now 10 billion people. So
Doctor, I hate to do this, but I do have to take my final break. Please stand by. And Exonation, Dr. Donald Pett is our guest, and the website is worldpeace.academy. And we're back, Exonation. Dr. Donald Pett is our special guest, worldpeace.academy. First of all, Doctor, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on the show. I love what you're doing, and I agree with you that we do need peace in this world of ours, because it scares the hell out of me knowing that the chances are that somebody will push that button within the next 10 years. We have 15 grandchildren, we have 6 children, and we have 3 great-grandchildren. So I understand where you're coming from, Doctor, and I appreciate all the work that you have done and what you're trying to do. And I hope that people listening to us tonight around the world will get your message and will go to your website, worldpeace.academy. First of all, we'll have to get you back on because we just didn't have enough time to get into a lot of the meat and potatoes of the conversation. We've got about 6 minutes left, Doctor. What is your final message for the listening audience of the X Zone tonight?
The world is in a very terrible shape. Most people recognize that.
Yeah.
People are upset because they don't know what we can do about it. They want the same things that we all want. We want, as I said, safety for our children. We want happiness. We want enough food for people. We don't want our children to starve. We want unconditional love, and we want peace. And the point is, Einstein told us how we can do that, and it's a simple solution. And we've offered that solution at our website, which is peace.academy. The worldpeace.academy is just kind of fun. And for example, Jack Canfield did an hour interview of me, of my ideas, and I did an hour interview of him, of his ideas about world peace. I'm very proud of that. So people can go to that for free, and everything we guarantee will be forever free. But if you really want to make a difference, then it's not all that difficult. But as you mentioned earlier, we are the worst enemy of ourselves. Instead of us remaining the problem, we can become part of the solution.
Yeah.
Nothing more satisfying for people when they do something that helps somebody else. That's really what we're meant for in this world. We're here not to satisfy particularly ourselves. We're here to make the world a better place for humanity, for our loved ones, and for others. That's what we want.
Well, my hat is off to you, sir, and to all the people that work with you at the education community. I think that you've got a marvelous way of looking at the world, and I wish to God that more people did. I want to thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Pett, and I do hope I have the pleasure of speaking to you again in the future.
I want to thank you because it's the media that has the opportunity to make this information available to the public. So what you're doing here is one of the most important things that people can be doing, making good information available to the public.
I thank you very much for those kind words, sir. And we're certainly going to do our very best to get the word out to as many people as we can. So until the next time we meet, Dr. Pett, please take care of yourself, sir. And thank you again for what you're doing. Good night, Doctor.
Good night to you.
All right, Exonation. I will be back at the top of the hour as we continue right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario. Now, just let me make sure that we give out the correct address. Two websites for the Dr. Pett that we've been talking about tonight. One is www.peace.academy and www.worldpeace.academy. Man, come on, Exonation. We've got to do something. We've got to turn this all around. We've got to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. After all, I do believe we are our brother's keeper. We'll be back. Don't go away.